Hey guys, how's it going? I almost forgot to plant some of these daffodil bulbs. So we haven't really planted much in the landscape in the way of bulbs. I've done some daffodils, but I had saved back a few that I'm going to be putting in containers, and we're getting ready to go to Texas, and I almost forgot to get these planted up. So I've got two different varieties. This first one is a variety right here called something. We know how good I am at reading. And then the other one is this little tiny variety right here called Mary Poppins. And Mary Poppins is the one that I'm the most excited about. These are all gonna go in containers. So I have 100 of these and they have already started to sprout, which, not very good. And this is the other variety here, and these bulbs look really good. They're not too bad, but they're definitely starting to get a little angry that they haven't been planted up. So I'm gonna go grab a couple terracotta pots, and the plan is to do a whole bunch of these in terracotta containers, and it'll be a really pretty spring show. Let me go see what I can find. Okay, so I have all of my supplies together. This is gonna be really simple and really fast. I have a couple bowls that I'm gonna be using. I have one, this is a cement bowl, and then I have some terracotta pots that I'm gonna be using. I have 3 of them that I'm gonna use. 2 of them the same size, one of them slightly bigger. I was hoping that I had a third one that was a little bit smaller so I could do a trio if I chose, but I couldn't find it. So we're gonna go with 3 that are the same size, and I think that's gonna be perfect. I have, this cement bowl is from Anthropology. I picked it up, gosh, 3 years ago. And the price tag is still on here. I paid $26 for this 3 years ago. It is, I think they said it was like the tulip shape or something like that. To me, it kind of looks a little cabbagey, but it's perfect. I love it for springtime. I have some Espoma Biotone in this pail right here. This is what I use in everything. And then I have my bulbs. I have 2 different types of moss here. This is a sheet moss, which I believe this one just comes in one giant sheet, right? Yeah, so this is a piece of sheet moss, and then I have some loose moss over there, and then I have a bag of potting soil right here. So, oh, I also pulled out some candles. I had done this a year ago. I think I did it last winter, where I had taken this exact bowl and I had filled it with live moss, and I used candles in it, and I loved the way it looked. I had used larger pillar candles. I think I had 3 of them, and I think that's going to be so pretty for springtime. What I loved when I had done it with the moss and the candles. So I'm excited to do it with these super skinny tapered candles. I actually found these at the Goodwill about 3 or 4 years ago, and I always liked just the tips of them because I don't love unlit tips on my candles. But anyways, this one doesn't have drainage in it. When you're using containers that don't have drainage, you need to be mindful of that when watering these. These are gonna get watered in, and I'm gonna water them one time. I'm not gonna water them again until I see them starting to sprout out of the soil that we have it filled with. I'm not too worried about it. I have multiple containers inside the house currently that do not have drainage holes. If you are a new gardener, I would not recommend this. I would definitely recommend finding something that has a drainage hole in the bottom of it, like the terracotta pots do. That is going to make it so that you don't accidentally kill your bulbs. They don't want to be sitting in water. We're gonna start with these ones because this is the one I'm most excited about. And we're gonna put a light layer of soil at the bottom. Actually, I think that's more than enough. One little handful. And I'm gonna go a little bit crazy. I have 100 of these bulbs, and we're gonna add quite a few of them in here. I want them to all be touching, and I want them to be very close together. These Mary Poppins ones don't get very large. We are trying to keep as much of the shell on the outside as possible. And I'm noticing that some of these have 2 or 3 sprouts coming, which is kind of exciting because that means I'm gonna get multiple blooms from that one. I'm so excited about this one bulb. I had searched high and low for this one. This is the one that I really wanted. I had seen Monty Dawn use these tulip bulbs last year, and I fell in love with them when I had seen them. So I'm really excited about that. I'm gonna leave an open in the middle. In the middle is where I'm gonna put the candles. I'm gonna try to tuck in as many of these as possible. I want a really big show of these inside the house. Perfect. I think, because I want these candles to be up as tall as possible, I'm gonna go ahead and cover these with soil now. And I'm gonna kind of mound it so it's got a little bit of a round habit to it, but still leaving it down low. I noticed that when I did use this container, because of the ridges on the line of the design, that water tends to pour out of those areas. So you kind of have to keep quite a lip from these higher points. A little bit unfortunate, but that's okay. Learned that the hard way. I am packing it down. I'm gonna go in with the candles now. This is gonna be one of the easiest projects. So you could go in with live moss. You could go in with, like I'm doing with fake moss. You can go in with all kinds of little accent pieces. You don't even need to use candles. You could do like a small fairy garden on the top of this, and I think that that would be really pretty too. But this is just going to bring a little bit of peace and elegance to this container, and especially once we see the bulbs popping up out of this, I think that that's going to be so pretty. So this goes inside now, and while I'm waiting for these bulbs to start blooming and showing their greenery and signs of life, this gives me immediate impact and interest right away, so I don't have to worry about like tucking this away somewhere. Because if I didn't put the moss down or the candles in it, it would just look like a bowl full of dirt, and I'm not going for that look. So we're going for something a little bit more elegant and a little more fun, and this is giving all of the springtime vibes already, even though we are in the very beginning stages of winter here in Northern California. So first one done. That is so easy, and I love the way this looks. I think these might be a little crooked. I'll probably end up playing with this non-stop until I get it exactly how I want it. Either way, I'm not mad at it. Oh, that's really pretty. And I could see if you added like a little fox right here, like a little like miniature fox or some type of one little piece of miniature, that'd be so precious. Okay. We're gonna move on though. Next one, these are gonna be even more simple because I'm not gonna be using any of the candles for that. So I didn't go in with any biotone for the other container because the biotone tends to have a smell to it. But these ones are gonna sit outside and they're gonna continue to stay outside forever. So these ones I'm gonna fill up with a little bit of soil, and I'm probably gonna leave about 3 to 4 inches for the big one room. I think I might do all 3 of these with this one container. That would be really pretty, a grouping of 3 with all one bulb. And then see if I can find some smaller containers and do a whole bunch of small ones with these. We're gonna fill these up with some soil, and I'm gonna leave about 4-ish inches of room for these because these are nice and deep, so I have plenty enough room to do that. Put in some biotone starter fertilizer, pop these guys in, and then we're gonna fill them up with soil the rest of the way. And I'm not gonna be top dressing these because these are gonna stay outside and they're gonna get watered in just as it rains. So this is gonna be really easy. I had done this once before, about 2 years ago, and I had done the Claus Dalby way of planting bulbs. And when I had done that, I didn't realize how much work it was going to be. I didn't hook it up to drip irrigation or any type of water, so we were hand watering them, and I don't do very well hand watering my plants. I have to be able to set everything up to drip irrigation and be able to kind of just forget about it. If I don't do it that way and I have to think about watering everything, I will often miss a day or I might underwater. So we're gonna try it again this year, and I'm not hooking it up to drip because I don't know where these are gonna go. If I knew where this was gonna go and I was planning on doing a big, huge show for that, then I would definitely hook them up to drip irrigation, but that's not the way we're gonna do it this year. So these ones, I'm hoping I get a show out of them. They still feel very firm and they still feel alive, but they look a little bit dry. That's okay. If nothing happens, nothing happens. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take our bulbs and we're gonna just place these guys in here. I'm gonna push them down just a tad bit. They have a couple inches of soil room to go above them. And how they need to get planted is when you find your daffodil bulbs, sometimes they look like a double like this, or they might look like a single like this. Pointy side towards the sky where your roots are, or if there's no roots, it could just be a flat base that looks just like this. The flat surface goes to the ground and the point goes towards the sky. you don't want to plant them like this. If you plant them like this, you're going to risk them running out of energy because they will start to grow down, and then they'll realize they're upside down, and they'll need to be able to send their energy to correct themselves and go back up. And they might run out of energy before they're able to photosynthesize. So if you're confused on how bulbs go, plant them on their side. That's your best bet. But rule of thumb is to plant them like this. So we're going to be planting them very, very close together in here. If I was planting them in the landscape, I probably, that's a lie, I would plant them this close. I do it all the time. I want it to come up as a vase. I don't love the look of having daffodils come up one at a time here and there scattered throughout the property. So I try to get them very close together. When we had done the Claus Dalby method of planting these up, I didn't quite know what I was doing. And while I did pack them together, I also was trying to do the lasagna layering method, which is where what you do is you take one bulb and you plant it right at the base, and that would be like your daffodil. You'd plant it right at the bottom down here, and then above that you would plant your tulips, and then above that you would plant something like muscari or something that's a smaller bulb. And so you get 3 different shows out of one container, and I had tried doing that on a few of them, and personally it didn't work for me. And I think that it might have been that my pots got a little too dry. We had them in full sun, so the roots did cook on quite a few of them. And I also think that there just was too much soil above the ones that were on the bottom that we just didn't get that good of a show out of them. So now I'm just sticking to one variety, one type, and calling it good. I don't want to complicate the process. So I was reading up on what Claus Dalby does, and he does one variety, one pot, and as that one variety starts to fizzle and fade, he takes that pot out, and he has a, like, not a stock room, but he has a back area on his property where he keeps a whole bunch of these containers, and they're set to bloom at different times. And as certain ones fade, he just grabs the pot that's faded and replaces it with a new pot that is nice and fresh. And I thought that that was so genius. I would eventually like to redo and be inspired by him again to do the exact style of planting that he does, because it is so gorgeous. It's really breathtaking. I would love to do that again. I had so much fun with it, and we had people that stopped at the road that said that they were like in shock with how it looked. We didn't get that long of a show because I didn't quite understand at that point, this was about 3 years ago, how timing worked on bulbs. So as certain pots started to fade, other ones were starting to come into their prime. And so it just didn't work out the best for me, but that's okay. So I now know what to do and how to look for the timing on bulbs and how things should work or shouldn't work. But either way, I had a lot of fun doing it. For those of you that don't know, me being in a zone 9, I have to do what's called pre-chilling my tulip bulbs. So you guys are going to see another video of me doing the exact same thing later on this winter time. Sometime after Christmas, I believe, I'll be doing the exact same thing with tulip bulbs, because I would like to recreate this with daffodils and tulips. And mine have to be pre-chilled, so they have to go in the refrigerator for X amount of weeks. They're actually at my work right now. My boss was super sweet and let me use our beer fridge at work and be able to store over 1,000 of them at work. So let's cover these up with some soil really quick, and I think that's gonna be it. It's a very easy project. Okay, so now that we have these all potted up, the 3 of them, I need to go see if I can find some more containers, because I still have a ton of these left. I probably have 80 of them in here, easily 80 of them. So I'm gonna go see if I can snoop around and find some small containers, but you guys get the basic gist of the idea of this. It's pretty straightforward. Put them in your pots, leave them alone, water them in really quickly. I'm gonna go put these in the veg garden, which is right here, and I'm going to leave them in there until I start to see some really big growth, and then I will put them where I want to see lots of blooms. I think that these would be really pretty if you did kind of a larger one and you just kind of tucked it into a flower bed, and you have daffodils raised up around some other plants and things that are planted in the ground. I think that that would be really pretty. These would also be really beautiful on top of tabletops. You guys had seen last week, I think, when we had done some blue ceramic pots, and I had built some like topiaries around them, and that was a really beautiful thing. And you guys could do the exact same thing, and this would be a very inexpensive gift to give to somebody, a terracotta pot. Build a little obelisk around them, or topiary of some sort, and throw some moss on it and give it to somebody as a gift. That would be a really exciting gift because it would be really pretty immediately. And then they get a show out of it with some type of daffodil or tulip or hyacinth bulbs. So I'm gonna put these in the veg garden, water them in, and I'm gonna finish potting these up really quickly. Okay, well, I found 4 more containers. I'm gonna try to do this really quickly. These 2 little tiny containers I found, and these are gonna go inside. These are gonna go on my kitchen windowsill, so that way I can enjoy them in the kitchen. They're both Italian terracotta, so if that means anything to you. But I liked the size of these, so 2 different sizes. And then I found this one, and this is gonna be the one that stays outside, which I think it's a perfectly dog-covered bowl. But another little terracotta pot. And then I found this. I have had this for a couple years now, and I think what I'm gonna do is this is going to be a gift to somebody. Possibly. It doesn't have drainage hole, so I don't know how confident I am with giving this to somebody. But what I am going to do is fill it with soil, put the bulbs in it, and I'm gonna build a quick little obelisk around it with a little bit of moss. And then I think I'm gonna just like make a little satin ribbon to go around the bottom. Super easy, quick. I have green, and then I also have a velvet in red. But either way, we're gonna do this really quickly because we are running out of daylight. And these ones, because they're all so shallow, I am not going to put much soil at the bottom of them. Fabulous. And same for that. That's way too much. And that's also way too much. And then we're just gonna pop as many of these in here as we possibly can. That's ridiculous, Robbie. Let's start laying these out. And like I said, I want these to be so close to each other that it looks foolish. I want a nice, big, huge show out of these for as long as possible. I don't want it to look silly and have, 4 or 5 bulbs in here. I want it to have a ton of bulbs in here and be like, oh my gosh, the show that this thing put on is spectacular. I want people to question my sanity. And it really doesn't matter if you go before or after. Just fertilize your plants a little bit, if possible. If you're not bringing them in, maybe a little dab more. Same for these guys. These ones are gonna be very close to each other. And these are not bulbs that I plan on being able to continue to reuse. I think this was like $25 or something like that, and it's 100 bulbs. So extremely affordable, and especially if it gives me a really big show. So this one container, I fit 7 in here. And I'm hoping to do probably about the same for this one and probably 14 for that one. 9 in this one. That's wild. Okay, and this guy. I don't think this would probably be that good of a gift. I don't want to give it to somebody who thinks that they need to water it and they end up just killing them. It's funny the size of some of these bulbs. Some of them are rather large and some of them are quite small. I got 15 in this one. Top dress these. Might be a little overfull, a little overzealous. Whew. Okay, I still have some bulbs left, so I'm gonna need to find a home for these. These I might just pop in the landscape. We'll see what I have time for mentally. We are, however, going to just throw a little moss over the tops of these, because anything that I bring inside, I really prefer not to see the dirt. I don't love that look. So even if it's just the lightest of dustings, and the way that I water my plants, these will go into little saucers, and we bottom water pretty much everything. Very few things get overhead watering. I've found that plants really don't like it because our water is so harsh. And let's pop these in here. Wire these together really quickly up at the top. And then we're going to line the top of that really quickly with a little bit of jute twine. kind of tie those together. And then I think this ribbon might be a little too big, but that's okay. I think it would have looked really pretty to add a little bow down here, but the ribbon is definitely too big and it might be a little too weird and top heavy up there. So this one's gonna go back into the veg garden. These three are gonna go inside, and until I can think of somebody who can properly take care of plants without drainage holes, this one's gonna stay at our property. Maybe I'll give, maybe I'll do the same thing with a smaller one like this. That'd be a really easy thing to do, to be able to gift to somebody. So that is going to be it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for hanging out with me in the garden, and I'm so glad that I got these planted before we headed out of town, because otherwise it probably would have been too late. So if you have bulbs sitting in your fridge or waiting to be planted, get them planted now. Bye guys.